Good morning. My name's Hayden Groff. I'm here with James Begg,
Hello.
Nicholas Del Romano,
Also, hello.
and Dirk Nugent.
Hello.
We're here today to discuss a sustainability issue, and that is as follows. As the Earth warms, layers of permafrost in the Arctic thaw, releasing bacteria and viruses thousands of years old that are potentially deadly to humans and may cause the next pandemic, threatening the sustainability of the human species.
This bacteria could get into our water and into the air and could be harmful to the entire ecosystem of the planet. So there have already been many examples of this happening throughout the world. However, one is off of the Yamal Peninsula. There was anthrax that released into the air and harmed 20 people and even killed one.
It is obvious that these ancient bacteria that are being released into our atmosphere can be deadly to humans. And the scary thing is, we're not exactly sure what they are.
These bacteria are also living off methane, which is good for the environment because they stay frozen under the ice caps, and that methane cannot get into our atmosphere and hurt our carbon emissions because the bacteria are thriving off of it and eating it in the ice.
The reason that permafrost is a good preserver of these microbes is that, as Dirk said, the methane keeps them alive. But also, it is cold, there is no oxygen, and it is dark, according to Jean-Michel Clavelli at EMSL University in France. And these are really the perfect conditions for keeping bacteria alive for such long periods of time.
In a 2011 study, Boris Revich and Marina Polidana wrote, as a consequence of permafrost melting, the vectors of deadly infections of the 18th and 19th centuries may come back, especially near cemeteries where victims of these infections were buried.
Scientists have managed to discover an 8 million-year-old bacterium that was dormant in glaciers in the Beacon and Mullins valleys of Antarctica. In the same study, they also found bacterium that were over 100,000 years old. These diseases date back even before humans, and so we have no clue what they could possibly be doing to us if they release from this ice.
The reason that this is such a problem is because of global warming. According to NASA's telescope, we can see that since 1880 to 2010, if you look at this graph here, that the temperatures on Earth have risen by over 1.5 degrees, which are causing all these problems and are causing this bacteria to release into the air.
1.5 degrees Celsius may not sound like much, but in the terms of our average global temperature, it is a big deal. The effects of climate change are widely apparent in today's world. They take shape in the form of global temperature rise, warming oceans, shrinking ice sheets, glacial retreat, decreased snow cover, sea level rise, declining Arctic sea ice, extreme events such as hurricanes, and ocean acidification.
These are very bad because, for example, with the sea levels rising, that would imply that the bacteria is getting into the air, and it's also getting into our water stream, which could affect humans all over the world.
And who do we have to thank for these things happening to our Earth? Ourselves. In their fifth assignment report, the Intergovernmental on Climate Change, a group of 1,300 independent scientific experts from countries all over the world, conducted a study saying that there's more of a 95% probability that human activities over the past 50 years are the sole contributor to this extreme climate change.
Continue to let this atrocity happen, our cities could be flooded, and people all around the world would lose food and lose resources, which is why many people are coming up with alternative energies. However, we cannot keep burning our fossil fuels because eventually we will run out.
Climate change affects human life in more than one way as well. Dirk just explained how the sea levels could rise and millions of people would be out of a home. It could affect our food supply, which could lead to hunger problems throughout the world. It kills habitats for animals, making them be endangered or even extinct, and also these bacteria and pathogens in the permafrost that are being released is is a is a possible downfall to
And this
global warming.
problem hasn't just started. It's been going on for a long time. However, we know that if we do not act quickly, then it can
Be catastrophic.
it could be catastrophic. It could rise exponentially in the next couple of years.
And the key to solving this problem is that it does have to be quick. It can't take too long or it's going to be too late. So we need a quick solution that everybody can accomplish to reduce climate change.
Everyone has to work together and be all in on solving this problem and coming up with different ways to fix the rising temperatures on planet Earth.
In order to save our planet, we need to reduce our carbon emissions. We could do this by using our cars less by carpooling, or by switching over to electric cars in order to reduce emissions going into our atmosphere. Also, there could be a tax put in place or have punishments for large corporations that produce things for all the emissions that they release into the atmosphere.
If our efforts to reduce these carbon emissions don't work, which they might not, our best option is to leave Earth. Finding another habitable planet for humans to live on is one of our best solutions to ensuring human survival.
In our habitable zone in space, which is the area that Earth is in and certain distance from the sun, there is to believed by NASA to be 12 other planets that we could potentially pick for our new Earth.
These 12 are just a tiny number of possible planets that we could eventually go to, but they are all guaranteed to have liquid water and be able to support life for humans. It's just a matter of getting there that we need help with. Before we get too carried away with all this space travel, it is essential that we address reducing climate change first, because that is our first option.
And there are many ways to do that, such as alternative energy, carpooling, and not using plastic water bottles.
Some possible forms of alternative energy that humans can use instead of fossil fuels is solar energy, wind energy, and hydrothermal electric energy. The thing about reducing climate change is it's probably too late to do anything about it. So we need to go to space.
To a planet such as Gillespie 667cc, which is a planet that is just 22 light years away from Earth and is considered to be habitable.
So what makes a planet habitable? So it has to be in an area called the habitable zone of its star. This is the zone far away enough from the star to not have all the liquid water boil away, but also close enough to not have it all freeze. This is essential to supporting life. It also has to have trees because trees make air.
In order for us to begin our journey to find a new habitable planet, NASA will need more money from the government. Currently, our government has a $4 trillion budget, but only $19.5 billion of it goes to NASA. Look how much we've discovered. Imagine if we could double or even triple that money.
The worst part about funding for NASA is that the percentage of the federal budget that makes up NASA's budget has noticeably declined throughout the history of NASA.
I think we need to take funding away from less important areas such as
Military, Social Security,
and put these more into space.
The push for awareness of our downturning Earth has risen, however, it is not enough.
Most of our funding needs to go to space exploration so we can create the technology to reach these habitable planets. The ones that we have already discovered are all too far away to actually inhabit, except for Mars, which brings up a very interesting point of conversation.
We also need to invest more money in astronauts and more money into equipment for astronauts that need to go on these 3 to 6 month excursions to find a new Earth.
I'm praying. In conclusion, We need, in order to fix the Earth and to prevent these deadly bacteria that are hidden deep in the ice layers of the Antarctic and Arctic circles, we need to focus on reducing climate change. But it's probably too late for that. So we need to forget climate change and we need to leave Earth immediately. And how do we do that? We fund space exploration. We fund the astronauts and the physicists that build the rocket ships to get them to other planets. We need to set our eyes forward and forget about the past. It's time to move on. We need to find another habitable planet, whether that be Mars, whether it be Jalise CC328. It doesn't matter. We have to leave.